gastrointestinal hormones. As we know, the regulation of gastrointestinal tract is brought upon by not only the nervous factors but also the local hormonal factors. So in this session, we will be looking into the hormones which are involved in regulation of gastrointestinal function, and for each gastrointestinal hormone we will be looking into its site of secretion, stimulus for its secretion, regulation of its secretion, as well as its role in modulating the secretory or the motor activities of the gut. So starting from what a hormone is different from the enzyme. Hormone is basically a chemical mediator which is released into the blood. For the regulation of gastrointestinal function, the involved hormones may be paracrine or endocrine or neurocrine in nature. All three are hormones, but how they are released and acting, that is different. For example, paracrine hormones, these are going to be released from a cell and act on a nearby cell. For example, in the gastric mucosa, released from one cell and act on a neighboring cell inside the gastric mucosa. This is paracrine in nature. The hormones which are released from cell and are taken into the blood to a distant level, for example, that released from the stomach and acting at the level of gut, or released from the duodenum and acting to decrease the gastric motility, these are endocrine in nature. Whereas those which are released from a neuronal ending, taken into the blood and ending and then acting on the target cell, these are called as neurocrine in nature. While we are discussing the hormones of GIT, we will keep on mentioning if that is of paracrine or neurocrine nature. Otherwise, rest of them will be endocrine in nature. So starting from the classification of the GIT hormones, this classification is based upon the structure which classify the GIT hormones into three major categories, included the gastrin family, GIP secretin family, and other polypeptides. Now is evident by the name, the gastrin family will of course have the hormone gastrin and the one resembling it, which is cholecystokinin. GIP secretin family will of course have one GIP and secretin plus two more hormones which are resembling in structure, including glucagon and vasoactive intestinal peptide. Lastly, other polypeptides have miscellaneous hormones including motilin, substance P, gastrin releasing peptide, and guanine. Most importantly, we will be looking into the detailed description of gastrin, cholecystokinin, secretin, somewhat of gastric inhibitory peptide and gastrin releasing peptide and motilin, but the most of the details of gastrin, cholecystokinin and secretin will be covered in detail. This is the image from the genome showing the site of release of these important hormones: gastrin, cholecystokinin, secretin, gastric inhibitory peptide or GIP, and motilin. And in front of you is the site of secretion. As you can see, only gastrin being released from the antrum of the stomach and the rest starting from the duodenum and jejunum. Cholecystokinin and secretin also being released from the ileum. The endocrine cells of the GIT are of two types, maybe enteroendocrine cell or enterochromaffin cells. The enteroendocrine cells are further of 15 types, and each type is going to produce only one type of hormone, whereas enterochromaffin cells are those cells which are going to produce the neuroendocrine chemical markers, for example, those which secrete histamine or serotonin. Gastrointestinal hormones are a huge list is in front of you, and those in the bold are the most important for you that we are going to discuss in detail right now, and rest we will be having just a brief overview. For each hormone that we are discussing, we will be looking into the stimulus of its release, site of release, of course the hormone, and its role in the GIT, along with brief regulation of its release. So starting from when the food enters the body of the stomach, especially the proteins, or also by the nervous stimulation, the G cells in the antrum of the stomach, as you can appreciate over here, are capable of releasing this hormone gastrin. G for gastrin and G for G cells. The nervous stimulation for release of other hormones is via the acetylcholine, but for gastrin, the neuronal endings secrete gastrin releasing peptide. So either because of distension or presence of proteins or the nervous stimulation causing release of gastrin releasing peptide, these G cells will be stimulated to release gastrin. Another important thing you can appreciate, the proteins are in the bold. So proteins are the most potent stimulus for the release of gastrin from these G cells. Once this gastrin is released, what is the role of this gastrin? The most important roles include enhancing the secretory activity of the stomach. For example, the secretion of acid and the pepsin secretion. And a minor role is in the mucosal growth of the stomach. Once a stimulus had arrived and gastrin stimulation release was stimulated, now there must be a checkpoint which is going to now inhibit these G cells from excessively producing gastrin, because if it is excessively produced, that can lead to a much higher gastric acidity than the required. So as soon as the required acidity is achieved, instead of letting it burn the stomach, there is a release of another hormone which responds to gastric acidity, and the name of that hormone is somatostatin, which is produced in response to a particular level of gastric acidity, and this somatostatin is going to inhibit the G cells of the antrum now to produce any more gastrin. This is how the gastrin production is kept regulated. The gastric acid stimulates the D cells of the stomach to produce somatostatin. The role of somatostatin is majorly to inhibit the gastric acid and gastrin production. Also, it is involved in decreasing the production of few other gastrointestinal hormones that we will be discussing in a while. It also inhibits pancreatic exocrine secretion, gastric acid secretion, motility of stomach, gallbladder contraction, absorption of glucose, amino acids, and triglycerides. These are all the roles of somatostatin, but most important is its impact on the regulating the gastric acidity. So this is how gastrin is stimulated to release gastric acid and pepsin, and as well as regulated via somatostatin. Gastrin releasing peptide is present in the vagal nerve endings that terminate on the G cells. As I told before, instead of acetylcholine, there is going to be gastrin releasing peptide. It increases the gastrin secretion via vagal stimulation. This is a summary slide showing the other factors which can either stimulate or inhibit the gastrin secretion. As you can see, proteins, distension, neural stimulation, calcium, and epinephrine via sympathetic discharge are stimulating, and this is where you can relate the stress-induced peptic ulcer. Whereas luminal acid, somatostatin are going to inhibit, and there are a multitude of other hormones which can decrease the gastric acid production, including secretin, gastric inhibitory peptide, vasoactive intestinal peptide, glucagon, and calcitonin. The most important were those that we have discussed in the previous slide. Moving on to the next hormone. Now the food has entered into the duodenum from the stomach, especially the amino acids and fatty acids, or any food, and somewhat the gastric acid in the duodenum. When it reaches the duodenum, it is going to stimulate the eye cells of the duodenum mostly, and somewhat in the jejunum and ileum as well, to release cholecystokinin. Now, what is the function of this cholecystokinin? Most importantly, it increases the pancreatic enzymatic secretions, and it contracts the gallbladder, by which it makes the availability of bile salts and pancreatic enzymes for digestion of these amino acids and fatty acids. Somewhat it also enhances the pancreatic bicarbonate secretion, but major role is on enzymatic secretion and gallbladder contraction. And another minor role is on decreasing the motility of the stomach from the cholecystokinin, so that no more food enters the duodenum before the previous one is digested. Another important aspect of cholecystokinin is its neuroendocrine action to decrease the appetite at the level of the central nervous system. Stimulatory functions of cholecystokinin, a few more in front of you: relaxation of sphincter of Oddi, growth of pancreas, increased intestinal motility but decreased gastric motility, increased synthesis of enterokinases by the intestinal lumen. Once the proteins or fats enter in the duodenal lumen, only the amino acid and fatty acids are going to stimulate the production of cholecystokinin, not the whole proteins or the fats. Once they stimulate the release of cholecystokinin increases pancreatic and biliary secretion, which enhances the digestion of fats and proteins. This is going to make availability of even more amino acids and fatty acids in the duodenum, which is further going to stimulate the release of more cholecystokinin. So this is going to go into a continuous circle. So what is going to stop further release of cholecystokinin? As there was a checkpoint of somatostatin on the gastrin, here the cholecystokinin further production is going to be blocked when all the proteins and fats have been converted into the amino acids and fatty acids, and these amino acids and fatty acids have moved on to the jejunum and ileum. When it goes to the lower portions of the GIT, only then the stimulus for further production of cholecystokinin will be removed and the further production of cholecystokinin be inhibited. We saw that fats and proteins are majorly stimulating the release of cholecystokinin and somewhat by the acid. Now again the food is in the duodenum, and here you can see in bold acid. So what hormone is going to be particularly stimulated by the presence of acidity in the duodenum and somewhat by the proteins and fats as well? The cells, S cells of duodenum and jejunum and somewhat in the ileum are going to be stimulated to release secretin this time. Cholecystokinin released more in response to fat and proteins, and when it produced, it led to the pancreatic enzymatic secretions and gallbladder contraction, whereas secretin release is going to majorly stimulate the release of bicarbonate secretion from the pancreas as well as from the biliary tree, which is then going to neutralize this acid in the duodenum. It also impacts the pepsin secretion, inhibits the pepsin secretion and leads to the growth of exocrine pancreas, which are its minor roles. It inhibits gastric acidity secretion and motility like that of the cholecystokinin. And its production is going to be regulated by the level of pH. Whenever the bicarbonate secretion will be increased, this is going to neutralize the gastric acidity, and as soon as the pH turns normal, the stimulation on the S cells is going to be removed so that the further production of secretin will be avoided. Now the food is still in the duodenum, and now you can see another stimulus: proteins, fats and carbohydrates. This is the only hormone which is stimulated by all three major nutrients, and this is produced from the K cells of the duodenum and jejunum, and its name is gastric inhibitory peptide. And it is also asked in the exam like that, which hormone is stimulated by all these three nutrients. So what does this gastric inhibitory peptide does? As is evident by its name, gastric inhibitory peptide is going to inhibit the motility and secretory activity of the stomach. It is abbreviated, or its acronym is GIP. First, its function of gastric inhibition was discovered, so it was named like that. Later on, it was discovered that its even more important function is on the insulin release, so it was named alternatively as gastric, I'm forgetting the first word, insulinotropic peptide. Because of that, glucose related insulinotropic peptide, and it stimulates the release of insulin. So normally what occurs, we suspect you have eaten something, it gets digested, it gets absorbed into your plasma, and when it reaches in the plasma, then it is going to stimulate the release of insulin from the pancreas. But this gastric inhibitory peptide, or insulinotropic peptide is doing what? It is increasing the insulin secretion in anticipation. You have eaten something, it has just reached the duodenum, it is yet to be digested, but in anticipation, this hormone has increased the release of insulin from the pancreas. So that is why its analogs are also used in the treatment of diabetes mellitus. And of course, its impact on the stomach is still there. It is involved in inhibiting the further emptying of the stomach into the duodenum by decreasing its motility as well as decreasing its secretory activity. Glucose dependent insulinotropic peptide and alternatively gastric inhibitory peptide being stimulated by all three major nutrients. Next is glucagon-like peptide. As is evident by its name, it is somewhat related to glucagon. As the glucagon stimulates the insulin release, similarly, this glucagon-like peptide is also going to stimulate release of insulin from the pancreas, and analog of glucagon-like peptides are used again therapeutically for the treatment of diabetes mellitus. This is going to give you an overview. The food reaches the stomach, which stimulates the gastrin secretion. Gastrin stimulates gastric acid secretion, and also it enhances the stomach motility, because of which the food enters then into the duodenum along with the acid. This food in the duodenum and the acid stimulates the production of cholecystokinin and secretin, as well as the release of gastric inhibitory peptide and glucagon-linked peptide 1. Cholecystokinin and secretin are going to stimulate pancreatic and biliary secretion, which are required for the digestion of the food, and this GIP and glucagon-like peptide are going to stimulate the release of insulin from the pancreas. So this is has beautifully summarized the role of the hormones that we have just discussed. Another peptide YY being produced has a role in decreasing the stomach motility and secretory activity. Also, this is going to have a role in appetite regulation by providing the feeling of satiety that we will be discussing in a separate session. So, another hormone majorly stimulated by the fat released in the jejunum is peptide YY that we just discussed, and the major role of peptide YY is to decrease the gastric acid secretion and motility. That is why when you take a fatty food, for example a cheesy burger or a paratha, what happens, this releases this peptide YY, decreases the gastric motility, also it releases cholecystokinin, secretin, all are decreasing the gastric motility, so you have a feeling of satiety for a longer time. In fasting state, there is a release of this hormone from the M cells of antrum duodenum, and the name of the hormone is motilin. M for the motilin and M for the name of the cells from which it is being released. Now this is the hormone whose stimulus is fasting state rather than the fed state. What is this motilin going to do? It is going to enhance gastric and intestinal motility and to stimulate interdigestive myoelectric complexes. So what can be the function of these complexes is to sweep off the intestinal contents away, the residual food away, so that the gut can be cleaned. Whenever you intake the food, the stimulus for motilin production is removed and there is no more production of motilin. So what are these interdigestive myoelectric complexes that we just said? These are occurring during fasting between the digestive periods, and this involves the motor activity migrating from the stomach to the distal ileum. This is going to occur in phases. Phase 1 is quiescent, in which there is no activity, to phase 2 irregular activity, and phase 3 in which there is going to be burst of regular activity every 90 to 120 minutes, as you can appreciate in this image. This is particularly stimulated by motilin, which is produced in the fasting state, and these contractions are going to move at this rate every 100 minutes. This is accompanied by increased biliary, gastric secretions and pancreatic secretion. Now you can see, although this is fasting state, but motility and secretory activity has been enhanced to sweep the content away from the lumen of the gut. The function is to clear the stomach and small intestine in preparation for the next meal. And as soon as you ingest a meal, the motilin secretion will be suppressed. The therapeutic advantage of this is erythromycin. It can bind to the motilin receptors, can stimulate the migratory motor complex, and is useful in patients of decreased GIT motility and acts as a prokinetic in them. Next is glucagon. As you know, is released from the alpha cells of the pancreas, and it is involved in producing hyperglycemia. Vasoactive intestinal peptide. Now its name is showing vasoactive, so it is somehow going to act at the level of vessels and is released from the intestine. It is a neuroendocrine hormone found in the nerves in the GIT. The purpose of this vasoactive intestinal peptide, also abbreviated like that, is to enhance the stimulation secretory activity of electrolytes and water. Also, it is involved in relaxation of the intestinal smooth muscles, especially the sphincters. For example, lower esophageal sphincter relaxation, dilatation of the peripheral blood vessels, inhibition of gastric acid secretion, and it potentiates the action of acetylcholine in the salivary gland. So, these are the multitude of factors in various areas: increased secretory activity of saliva, but decreased secretory activity of the stomach, increased blood flow, relaxation of the sphincters, and increased secretory activity. Bipomas, that are the VIP, vasoactive intestinal peptide secreting tumors, and the patient may initially present with only diarrhea because of the increased secretory activity of the gut. Substance P is again a neuroendocrine hormone that increases the motility of the small intestine. Ghrelin is secreted by the stomach. It mediates the control of the food intake by acting on the central nervous system. Guanylin is secreted from the intestinal mucosa from pylorus to the rectum throughout, and this is involved in stimulating the formation of cyclic GMP, by which it enhances the chloride secretion in the gut lumen, and it has a very particular clinical correlation with the E. coli. The E. coli toxins, they resemble guanylin and can stimulate cyclic GMP formation, uncontrolled formation, which is going to enhance the secretion of chloride in the gut, resulting in diarrhea. This is the summary slide showing the receptors and mode of action of important hormones, including the IP3 mechanism, inositol triphosphate mechanism for gastrin cholecystokinin, cyclic AMP mechanism for secretin, and G protein coupled receptor for the motilin. That's all about the gastrointestinal hormones. Thank you.